Hello, everybody, and welcome to our podcast. This is Hoshirio. My name is Fernando. I am a licensed therapist, a clinical psychologist, and I'm here with.
I'm Kaiko. I'm a certified energy healer.
And today we're going to be talking about emotions. What are emotions and why it is important to talk about emotions, to know what they are, to be able to describe them, and so that we can allow ourselves to be helped and navigate our emotions much more effectively. So
Yes.
let's begin with our conversation today, and we start essentially with the Latin root of the word emotion.
It's mover,
Okay?
and that means to move or the movement itself.
Okay?
So emotions are the fuel to help us take actions.
Emotions are a result of a met or an unmet need. I repeat that again. Emotions are essentially the result of a met or an unmet need.
I like that.
Yes, I like that concept. For me, it's kind of easy to look at it in that way. And when I was, doing the searching for the information to for this podcast, of course, I look into the work of Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett and her book How Emotions Are Made, and a couple of other authors as well. And it was very interesting to gather this information for this podcast. Now, one of the things that I got from this, emotions is not necessarily just one thing. Emotion is a combination of different things. For example, when we think about an emotion, or the first component of emotion is evaluation. Emotions help us to evaluate, and who's evaluating? Our brain essentially
Right.
is evaluating whether the experience that it is having it will bring the brain, or will bring yourself a sense of pleasure, or what it will bring it bring you pain. So the brain is always evaluating that. Now, where is this coming from? How come the brain evaluates, and how does the brain evaluate? Well, our brains are really good at best guessing
From the
And
past events.
from the past events, exactly. So they do the best to best guess based on the past experiences that they had, what's in front of them right now.
Yeah.
So they create a representation of what could be in about the present moment. And there are a couple of factors that have to do with this evaluation. One of them, one of the parts of this is they have to filter, through the data that is being presented from outside of our bodies, the environment,
Yeah.
the world,
Yeah.
what we are experiencing from outside, the stimuli. Also, there is the internal stimuli, like our bodily sensations, our temperature,
Sweat.
sweat, all
Yeah.
of these things that are happening in the body, palpitations, this physical responses. And of course, that third component that I kind of already mentioned is the brain will bring those bits and pieces of memories, and it will try to best guess, what's going on right now.
I see. And those create the motor response by using the muscles, like changing the tone of voice or the speed of the voice and of the speech, and then also gestures and the facial expressions.
Exactly. So that is still part of what an emotion is.
Yeah.
So as you can see, and you can hear in this case, there is not only one thing. So we got into, there is an evaluation done by the brain
Yeah.
based on best guessing what's happening. Then from that, there is a communication that happens from our peripheral nervous system, or through our senses.
Yeah.
Try to fill the information and tell our brains what's going on outside. And from that best guess, from that response, the body, interacts with that through our motor abilities, to our muscles, our face expression, and gestures and
So,
pose and voice. No?
so these are the expression of your emotions, we
Yes.
can say.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And
And that takes us to make an action. So they urge us to move and to get close to the subject or the keep away from the subject.
exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So in this way, we can say once we're getting enough input, the brain will try to tell us, okay, this is safe. You can approach. Okay, this is something that you've experienced before, and you did pretty well. So it's okay if you approach. Or it will say to us, you know what? This is not a good place to be. It's like for example, I remember when I was a kid, I if I would eat something, I remember I ate something like, I think it was a rotten. It was rotten, but
thought
it was
about
a
that.
rotten egg. I think I shared that with this story with you before, but it was a rotten egg. So for years, I couldn't eat that. Like, no, my brain was constantly trying to take me back there. Like, hey,
Bring up the taste.
yeah, bring up the taste again. And it was like a curse, almost like, it took me a while to go back and be able to eat. So something similar, this can be the beginning of certain phobias, of certain fears. Okay. And so emotions are in a way a call to action as well. The last part, which is important, is feelings. Now, feelings help us to consciously process, all these components of emotions.
Yeah.
Well, it's essentially, I know what my body is now experiencing. I can sense, I can describe to myself, oh, there's something going on in my chest,
Yeah.
or I am presented with this scenario where I don't know what to do. But when I'm aware of that, then I can process this and I can say, oh, I'm feeling, I'm feeling grief right now. I'm feeling very excited, or I'm feeling, it's helpful to process an experience from different angles.
So that's the way of understanding the context of the emotion.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Yes. So it's a piece of it. So it's not the same. Emotion is not equal to feelings. That's important.
Yeah.
Yet a feeling at the end is a component of, an emotion.
So that means emotions are really the invitation to take action.
Emotions are the invitation to take action. Is our bodies or brains way of telling us something is off, and is giving us this gift of of experiencing through our nervous system, through our physiology, through our gestures, our sensations, our physical responses, that something needs to be in balance.
I see. Okay, so that we have like 3 amazing takeaways if you want to unstuck or if you want to start creating.
Yes. Part of course, creating this podcast, and our our goal is to spread information that is based on people that study this, people that are knowledgeable, and one of the takeaways that we want to share with you today is, number one is, pay attention to how you are processing your emotions.
Okay, so how do we do it?
Well, there is different methods, but I consider one of the most valuable ones is, number one, take a deep breath, and then just notice, as in observe your physical responses, observe if there's a temperature shift. Now observe if you need to sit down, if you need to just, pause for a moment, like stop, breathe, notice. And then once you take the time to observe and notice, then describe to yourself what's happening in your body in this moment. Simply describe it. And as you're describing this to yourself, and you can start recognizing, is there something that my body is needing in this moment? What makes my body feel in this way? But first we need to sit down and observe. Now there's another element to this, and we observe. When you describe, then you can recognize whether you need to do something about it, as in take action, or simply just acknowledge it. Not necessarily all the things that we are feeling require, for us to do something necessarily. A lot of times we just need to feel.
Need it. Yeah.
Just need to feel and feel completely. There's another thing that I would like to say in this takeaway, that is, as humans, we may tend to have a preconceived story, and sometimes that can take us into judgment. So if you find yourself judging, what you're feeling, what you're observing, don't judge yourself.
Right.
If
That's
you're judging,
very important.
to acknowledge it's a human thing. So when you find yourself judging, don't judge that you're judging.
Yeah.
Now, the takeaway number 2 is talking about judgment, right? Is check your stories. As we mentioned, the brain does a wonderful job best guessing what's going to happen. And I can't remember, Kaiko, where did I listen to this story? I'm pretty sure somewhere wrote it down. And there's this story of this man who was in a family gathering, and he was talking about how he remembered when he was a child. His dad would in an experience that he said, "Oh, my dad beat me with a branch, on fire." And one of the brothers there, was shocked and said, like, "That's not the story. I was there."
Happened.
No, that's not what happened. When that happened, you actually accidentally fall into the fire.
Oh, wow.
So my dad was trying to pull you out of the fire, and your leg got stuck in that branch. So my dad was just fiercely trying to get that out from you. So that was really what happened. So it is so interesting how when we have all these background stories, we can continue unconsciously. If we're not curious about them and we don't question them, we tend to, those tend to play an important role on interpreting what's happening in front of us. So check your stories.
Yeah.
Check your stories.
So then, what would be the best way for us to get out of that small frame of mind?
Well, one of the things that in the book, how emotions are made, and one of the invitations is to try new experiences, to actually allow yourself to do new things, different things. It's really creating that neuroplasticity.
I see.
So do your best to adventure yourself to just go out and show up to do something totally different. There's this it's not a celebrity, but there's this lady who had like a 30-day challenge, and where she would basically put herself in situations in where it could be very frightening. So she would go and do things like, I'm just gonna go into a bar, and I'm just gonna sit down and alone, and I'm just gonna try to meet new people and like go through that experience feeling superly afraid. And what she's doing is she's telling her brain, like, nothing's gonna happen. It's okay to have new experiences. So that is gonna be so helpful to permeate the brain with new experiences, so that in the future you can go back to this present moment with the new experiences that you created, and you have much more chances, much
You
more
have
opportunities, more
Yeah.
references, exactly, you know. So that is one of the, I think, one of the most greatest invitations, you know, to create new
Wow,
experiences.
yeah. So try new activities.
New activities, new experiences, try a new hobby, taking pictures, playing guitar, a new sport, you know, taking care of a pet, you know,
Okay.
anything that
Yeah.
involves taking action, movement.
That's that sounds very fun. Okay, so finally, the third takeaway is to move towards authenticity. Be accurate, genuine. Like, this is very important. Like, for example, when you are in a certain state of your mind, often be like, let's say you're sad, like, we try to be happy when we are sad, and then when we are angry, we try to be angry. But that's not right. If we are sad, we just had to experience the sadness or sad. And then also when we are angry, we just have to experience that we are angry. And so that allows us to be more authentic. Yeah, and this is very important in terms of understanding or receiving what your emotions is really inviting you to take an action for.
So it's like, if you feel sad or feel it,
Yeah.
allow yourself to just
Exactly.
be there and tune into that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like a messenger, you know, just telling you something.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so that's all for this episode. And thanks for tuning in. And see you at the next podcast. And stay curious and keep creating.
Keep creating, everybody. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you so
thank
much.
you. Bye.